Welcome to Book Buddies. So last year, I began a tradition where I revisit books that I loved as a kid but haven't had a chance to reread in a while. Last year, those books were the Percy Jackson series along with the Heroes of Olympus series. And this year, I decided to revisit the Wide Awake Princess series. I read this series throughout my time in middle school and early high school, and when I revisited them again this year in July, I once again had a lot of fun with them, and I'm excited to talk about it again. So our main character throughout this series is Annie. She is the younger sister of Sleeping Beauty, or Princess Gwen as she is called in this version. And when Annie was born, a spell was cast on her so that she was immune to all magic. However, this gift also temporarily reverses magic if she is touching or is even close to anything that has been enchanted. This means two things. First of all, she grows up to be a bit of an outcast because she's reversing everybody's gift from magic. And then secondly, when Gwen ultimately pricks her finger, she is not affected by the spell. She is the Wide Awake Princess, as the series is called. The first book is ultimately a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, essentially, through Annie's perspective, where she needs to find a prince that can ultimately break the spell and awaken both Gwen and the kingdom. What I loved most about this series was our main character, Annie. I think she is a beautiful combination of both a role model that young girls can look up to, being kind, smart, and brave, while also being a character you can relate to, specifically how she's a bit of an outcast at the beginning of the story, but also she's not perfect. She's not able to solve everything by herself. She is in trouble various times throughout the series. She does need help from her friends. And when I reread this, I realized, she honestly might be one of my favorite fictional protagonists because I love her so much. The main relationship throughout all 7 of these books was between Annie and Liam. They knew each other at the start of the book, but then Liam wasn't in the castle when the spell took place, so they go on the whole quest together, and of course, they fall in love, and they have a really sweet relationship throughout all 7 of these books. Something else I really loved in this series was all the fun fairy tale connections. I previously mentioned that Annie is the younger sister of Sleeping Beauty. However, especially in the first 3 books, there are a lot of fairy tale characters. Liam's family is the Princess family from The Princess and the Pea, and then later on it's revealed that Annie and Gwen's cousin is Cinderella's prince. Annie also gets to meet Snow White, and they have a really beautiful relationship. And some of these characters are a little bit more traditional, but other versions, there's a little bit of a twist, and you find out that actually this name that you think belongs to them, it's not even their name. So I did not remember all of these fairy tale connections, so revisiting that was a lot of fun. Something else I thought was really clever throughout this series is oftentimes, especially closer to the second half of the book, someone or something will be introduced, and then in the second book, they play a major part throughout the story. I won't go into too many details because of spoilers, but I think it's really clever, especially when I was revisiting and binging all these books, realizing how much was built up in the previous book, and it has a really fun payoff. Unfortunately, like every good series, this wasn't perfect, so I'm just gonna go over some of them. First of all, I would need to fact check this, but I think everything in all 7 of these books took place in the course of a year. I think at the beginning of most of the books, it's a few weeks have passed since this happened, and maybe I wouldn't be thinking this much about it, but first of all, Annie is really young. I don't think her exact age is given, but considering that her older sister is 16, she's probably about 14 or 15 in the first book. And also because of the curse that Gwen is under, they spent a lot of their childhood in the castle, so Annie goes from having a very quiet and sheltered life to going on all of this. I think even by the 6th book, there's a line where it implies that not a whole lot of time has passed between the ending of book 1 and the beginning of book 6. Something else that I didn't entirely love is I feel like the series kind of went in a different direction about halfway through. As I mentioned, there's a lot of fairy tale connections throughout the series, but it's only really in like the first 3 or 4 books. I think maybe a reason I didn't remember it as much as I probably should have was because the second half of the series doesn't really focus on that. And it's not the worst shift in a series, but I kind of prefer the more fairy tale crossovers. So I think the second half of this series kind of suffered because of that. It almost felt like the author wanted to tell more stories with Annie, but didn't really want to tell more stories about her world or a lot of the other characters that have been established. That being said, while I didn't love the direction that the second half of the series went in as much as the first half, I thought it was really fun how Edie Baker incorporated the world of the Frog Princess into this. The Frog Princess was her earlier series, and we started seeing that, I believe, in the 4th or the 5th book. And I enjoy a good crossover. I think it was done in a way that helps satisfy old fans of the series while not being so in-depth that people who hand-read that series can't get into it. And I liked getting to see how Annie and Billy interacted. Overall, I had a really fun time revisiting this series. The characters, the world, and the tone make it so much fun and really clever. And I would say if you are looking for a more lighthearted fairy tale retelling, especially one that you can share with younger audiences, I would definitely recommend this series. If you enjoyed this, please share it with your friends. I'm Louisa Hammond, and I'll see you next time.